Oh, guys, am I there? Can you hear me? Please let me know if you can hear me. I hope that you are able to hear me. Just say hi if you can. Hi, okay, hi. Future GM, you are saying hi. Thank you. You are able to hear me properly, right? I think, yeah. So, okay, till more people might join us, we might solve some tactics till that moment so that we can practice a little bit. Okay, fine. Hi Shahid, you are also here. That's cool. Aryan is also here. So guys, do you want to solve some tactics for some time so that more people will? Hello Mayur. Yeah, I'm really happy whenever I see you guys. So let's solve some tactics, easy ones for some time, maybe for 5-10 minutes, and then we will proceed with our today's session. Okay, so this is black to play. You can read it there, and rook into d1 is suggested by future GM. Okay, fine. What okay, rook into d1 means what are you doing? You are first of all forcing him to capture, then and on the next move we will be capturing the knight on e4. So it is the clear case of removing the guard, or you can say removing the defender. Yes, correct. Tina, you are right about the move. Okay, next one. Yes, Aryan, I know that's a very sad part, and he was one of my favorite actors. Dhoni movie I have watched at least for 10-15 times, and he did an amazing job. And last movie also I saw, that Chichore. It was a nice movie. Okay, Shahid, the pawn push you are suggesting. Yes, Mayur, you are right about the move which you are talking about. Okay, pawn push is suggested by here. Yes, Aryan, we know this thing. Don't just keep on typing the same thing. Here, I think h3 should be played. Okay, h3 is something which we need to play here to attack the knight, and a knight will not be having any. Yes, but here black to play is there if you are going to suggest me that move. Okay, what will you play from black side? Black's pawn is proceeding like this, so I think we should push the pawn, right? There is no other option. If you push the pawn, yeah, knight into knight by black, knight into knight where? Okay, fine. So getting back to the chess, so I think we should push the pawn here, right? There is no better alternative rather than pushing the pawn. Yeah. Okay. Continue with the next thing. What we should be doing here? Yeah. This is white to play in this position, and I can see that there is a simple fork is there. If knight captures here, then we will be giving fork to the king and the queen. Yes, fork on f6. Correct. Absolutely right about this thing, and we will capture. Okay. Next. More 5 minutes. More 5 minutes for this thing. White to play here. Which move will you play? Yes, rook d7 is absolutely a nice move here. If you play rook to the d7, then the queen will be pinned in that case, and we will capture the queen, and we should win the game because we will be having one extra. Yeah, I think Shahid, you should refresh the page because it seems that you are a little bit lagging. Please refresh the page, Shahid. So this is white to play. Okay, this white to play means it looks like it is just one move checkmate here in this position, and it should be, yeah, yes, correct. Queen into g5 is the move which we should be playing here, and then it should be a draw in that case. Very good. Next move. Okay, here again, if you pay attention to check, capture, and threat, we can just capture on d4 and we will be winning the piece. So this move is very easy, and we must play this move, and it should be winning for us, right? Okay, now I think maybe we have waited for some time for the guys to come, and it seems that they are taking some time. So maybe we should start with our today's session after this puzzle. You mean to say queen into g3, right? Here, if you play queen into g3, then it seems to be a good. Yeah, we should capture the pawn here, and after that he might play king to the this square. After that, we will be playing queen to the f3, and it will be a check and mate in that case. Yes, correct. This square, and then we should play this move, and it is going to be a check and mate. Okay, mate into, yes, definitely it was a mate into. Let's solve for 2 more minutes some tactics. It is black to play, and if you pay attention to this thing, that undefended pieces, so you can see that in this position the knight on c3 is undefended, and we can win this knight because we can play something like bishop to the b4, and we will be pinning the knight, and even if it cap like supports it with queen to the d2, we can again play knight to the e4, and then we will be attacking the knight on c3. So bishop to the b4 and then knight to the e4, and we will be winning the queen in that case. Yes, Shahid, you are definitely Shahid is little bit behind. I think Shahid, please refresh your page. Okay, so let's see maybe the last puzzle here, and then so this is white to play, and guys, which move will you play here? It is very easy. There is nothing to think about checks and captures. If you pay attention to this thing, then obviously we can capture the knight on, yes, f6 is hanging in this case, and we should just capture here, and here we will be capturing the e7 also, and it should be winning. Okay, so now I think we have waited for 10 minutes, and we should start with our today's session. So should we start? Queen takes, yes, P and John is also here. Should we start with our today's session? I think we should, right? Yes, okay. Okay, so today's session, which is there related to the defensive techniques in chess. Well, first of all, we should understand that all the time we cannot win the games by just attacking and something like that. Sometimes your opponent might be in the position where he will be attacking on our king, pawn, piece, or on our weaknesses. Correct? And if you understand this thing, that if you want to win any game, or if you want to save any game, basically we should understand our opponent's attacking chances and also defensive resources. Both the things should be understood, and accordingly only we can take the decision. Like in the puzzles which we were solving, if we don't see our opponent's defensive resources, means his best possible defense, then we will not be able to attack properly, because all the time we will be considering something bad defense from our opponent. So it's very important to understand that we should know good defensive techniques from our side also and opponent side also, because defensive techniques are something which is universal, which can be used for anyone. Okay, so let's look at one game and try to understand how the defensive technique was. First of all, when you want to save the game, when you are in difficult position, the first thing which comes to your mind is like liquidating the position, or you can say that the converting the position into something drawish, or you can say like the end games which are drawish. For example, opposite color bishop endgame, that is most probably it will be drawn. So when you are in a difficult position in the middle game, try to convert the position or liquidate the position by exchanging pieces and go into the end game, which is opposite color bishop endgame. So first game which we are going to see, it is played by two world chess champions, Capablanca and Alekhine. Okay, just for like just more information, this game was played in the World Chess Championship between them, and it was played in 1927. Here Capablanca was white, Alekhine was black. I will go to the position where from where I want to talk more quickly, but just for the clarification, we will look at the opening moves also. Okay, so he played d4, d5, c4. If you have any doubts, you can always ask me, but I want to reach to a position from where I want to explain. So a6 was played, knight to the c3, knight to the f6, bishop to the g5. Okay, and this is queen's gambit declined position, you can say. Black played knight bd7, and here in this position I will ask you first question, because I want to go forward, but I have a question that white can capture c into d5, e into d5 and knight into d5, because this knight on f6 is pinned by this bishop. So do you think that knight into d5 is a good move or is it a bad move? Can you tell me what will happen if white captures knight into d5? No. Okay, Mayur, you are saying no. Why, can you tell me with the variation, like, okay, bishop b4 can come. Yes, here black can actually play knight into d5, and if you capture here bishop into d8, then we have this move, that is bishop to the b4, and after queen to the d2, knight into sorry, bishop into d2, king into d2, and we will be capturing the bishop on d8. And if you count the number of pieces on the board, then black will be having one extra piece. Yes, correct. Yes, correct. He will be having one extra piece. That's why white cannot capture on d5. So he proceeded with e3 instead of capturing on d5. Then black played bishop e7, knight to the f3, castles, rook to the c1. Both sides are developing their pieces quite comfortably in this position. Black played a6, white played a3, and here black again play h6, dislodging this bishop from this good square that is on g5. So white played bishop to the h4, black played d into c4, bishop into c4 and c5. Here if white castles in this position, then we might be looking at the games where we already saw yesterday that c into d4, e into d4 might lead to the positions which are isolated queen pawn positions. But Capablanca in this position did not go for castle. What he did is he played d into c5. Now you can say that this is symmetrical pawn structure, because look at the pawn structure. This is exactly same. These 4 pawns are there. Black is also having 4 pawns on the king side, and 2 pawns are there on the queen side. Both sides are having same pawn structure in this case, and this kind of positions are said to be very equal. But if you make a little bit room for your opponent to attack on your weaknesses, if you create in the future, then it will be very difficult position for you. So here white played bishop to the e2, he went back with bishop, then b6, and now finally they exchange the queens with queen into d8. rook into d8 was actually the best move in this position, getting the rook on the open file. Okay, he should have played this move, but he did not play for that move. He played bishop into d8 in this position, and here castling was done, knight to the b3, rook c d1, and bishop to the b7. Now you can see that in this position white is already having a rook on the open file, correct? The bishop on b7 and the bishop on d8 are okay. Bishop b7 is at least doing something, but the knight on f6 is little bit tight because he needs to protect the pawn like d7 square in this position. And here the knight on b3 is there, but white played a very nice move to exchange that piece on b3, because it is said that whenever your opponent is playing with very few active pieces, what you should do is like you should try to exchange those active pieces from your opponent's side, so that all he will be left with the undeveloped pieces. So if you can exchange the knight on b3, then his undeveloped pieces like the rook on a8, d8 and the rook on f8 will be left on the board. So white played knight to the d2, knight into d2 and rook into d2. Now this is the position which I would like to talk with you, but before I talk I want to know like what would you like to play in this position. Okay, he played bishop into d8. In that case, there is no particular reason as such. He just maybe wanted to support the pawn on b6 little bit further, because he might wanted to play knight to the b3 and knight a4 might be a possibility. So he wants to protect everything and then he wants to go forward. Okay, here, but after that he played that move, and this is the position which I want to talk with. So but now first of all I want to know what is your opinion, like what would you like to play in this position from black side. Okay, you should also understand this thing that white is slightly ahead in development, you can say, because his rook is there on the d2 square. The rook on f1 is going to come on the d1 square, and it will be coming on the d7 square, or you can say that there will be more control of white on the d file. Okay, okay. Hi Prathamesh, my class buddies is saying knight to the d5 in this position. Okay, you can play knight to the d5. Okay, no, actually this position is like black to play, not white to play. This is black to play. Yeah, I would like to exchange it with black bishop. Okay, you want to exchange this bishop on the h4 with your black bishop. Understandable. But how will you do it? The knight d5 move was suggested to me, but if you play knight to the d5, okay, maybe you can play this move. Nothing really completely wrong about this move. But still there will be slight pressure with yeah, knight into d5, rook f d8, and maybe here we can play something like joined. Oh, nice. Thanks for joining with me. Okay, we will put some pressure by playing knight to the a4, putting the pressure on the b6 pawn, and if b5 played, then we will be playing knight to the c5, and next move maybe we will be playing rook to the d1. White will still be having slight pressure on black's pieces, because we will be having a little bit more pressure, and we will be playing bishop to the f3 on the next move, putting this bishop on this diagonal, because the bishop on b7 is not well protected in this position. I'm not saying like it is winning for white, I'm just saying like slight pressure is there. So the thing is that here in this position, Alekhine thought, why not go into the position which is more drawish in this case, and he wanted to defend more in a better way. So as I was mentioning earlier, you can liquidate the position into the end game which is more drawish. Okay, so it's like this is just one example I want to show you before I show you more examples. So here Alekhine played knight to the e4. Same like knight d5 was also a possibility, but he wanted to force the matters, so he played knight to the e4. Now the matters are more forced because, as you said, that you want to exchange the bishop on h4. Yeah, the bishop on h4 is now getting exchanged, because here in this position, let's suppose if play bishop into d8, then that will be a very bad move because we will be capturing knight into d2, right? And if he captures knight into e4 in this case, we will be playing bishop into h4, and suddenly black will be having two bishops in the position. And here, okay, after this knight d6 is a good move from white side, but black decided to play bishop to the d5 in this position, and the game is now going to be converted into the position which is opposite color bishops will be there on the board. Yes, yes, it is a slightly better. Here he saw one sacrifice which he was going to play, means Alekhine was playing from the back side, and he saw one sacrifice. The sacrifice was, after e4 move, if the bishop moves anywhere, then definitely the e5 pawn is coming, and the knight will be very nicely placed on this square. So here Alekhine already prepared one sacrifice, that is rook f d8. By rook f d8, what is really happening is, like, let's suppose if we capture on d5 move, means d5 square, what will you play? Can you tell me which move will you play from black side? Obviously you will capture the knight on d6. There is no other option for you, because you need to recover the piece. And here white cannot capture on e6 because the rook on d2 is hanging. So maybe in this position white will play rook f d1. Yes, rook into knight, yes, definitely. And here you can still wait for a while, maybe with the move, or you can just capture on d5. After rook into d5, e into d5, rook into d5, the position is completely equal. Okay, you don't need to worry about anything. You can even play b5 in this position, and the opposite color bishops are there, so it gives lot of chances to draw the game. So this is what I was talking about, liquidating into the end game, which is more likely very equal. Okay, so this is like the defensive technique, we can say, because I will tell you why knight e4 was played basically. So here in this position we already saw knight to the d5, we have slight advantage. Instead of knight e4, if you play something like bishop to the e7 in the position, then again the move which I was discussing with knight d5, knight a4 will come. And here if b5 is played, we will first capture on f6, bishop into f6, and knight c5. And suddenly the knight is very well placed on c5 square, hitting the bishop on b7 square. And if we place bishop d5 any position, then we will be playing e4, and our knight will be very nicely placed, because on the next move we are going to play b4. Okay, so this is the main reason, because he doesn't want Capablanca to have even slight advantage, because Capablanca was known for playing the endgame like a machine, and if you give him slightly favorable endgame, then obviously he will get the advantage in the long run. So that's why he played knight to the e4, then knight into e4, bishop into h4, knight d6, bishop d5, e4, rook f d8. Okay, in this position I was talking about some sacrifice. Can you spot the good move from white side? E into d5 is definitely a very equal move, but instead of e into d5, white has a better move. Mhm. E5, okay. E5 something is something you want to play e5, okay. But here if you play e5, then black can play bishop to the e7. Then I will be attacking the knight on d6. In that case, how will you protect the knight? It will be a bad position for white, I think, because he cannot really attack anything here. The I think black might get the pawn after bishop into d6, e into d6, and rook into d6. Okay, but there is a better solution from white. Yes, yes, knight into f7 is the move which he should be playing in this position, because if he capture on f7, then after king into f7, e into d5, white is getting one extra pawn. But as I mentioned earlier, even if you get the extra pawn in this position, the game which is going to be converted in the endgame, pure endgame, it will be opposite color bishop's endgame, and that gives lot of drawing chances. So white played that move, so black will play rook into d5, rook into d5, e into d5, rook to the d1. Even if now this pawn on d5 is losing, we don't really worry about that thing because we have this bishop to the f6, good move. We are attacking the pawn on b2. If he plays bishop to the f3 with the threat of bishop into d5 and bishop into a8, we'll simply play rook to the c8 because it's necessary for us to put the rook on the open file and with some activity. Okay, rook d8 was possible, but if you put the rook on d8, then it is not on any active square, or you can say it is not on the open file. So here after this move, bishop into d5 was played, king e7, and white played b3. Again he played bishop to the b2, forcing his opponent's pawn to go on the same color of the bishop. So that the thing is that after bishop to the b2, which move will you play? How will you liquidate the position more now? Which move will you play from black side? Okay, I'm waiting for your answer, guys. See, in this position, if you go into the complete endgame, if you exchange the rooks also, then usually opposite color bishops will lead to a drawish endgame, and it will be most probably draw, and black will be very happy. Rook c2 is a possibility. Bishop d4. No, it is black to play. No, black has already played bishop to the b2 and white played a4. Okay, rook d8 is one of the possibilities which you are talking about, but I will prefer to exchange all the pieces so that the game will be leading to the draw very easily. So here in this position, black should play rook to the c1, forcing him. After this, we know this thing that the pawns are going to be there on the dark squares. Black will be able to draw this game very easily because opposite color bishops are there. Okay, am I there? Okay, fine. So this is how you can liquidate the position. This is one of the technique which you should be knowing when you are playing the game. That liquidate the end game or like liquidate the position which is slightly inferior for you and go into the end game which is completely drawish. Okay. Okay. Now we will see this position which occurred in the game of Korchunai against Karpov. And in this position, you can say that white is already having slight edge because he has two bishops. Okay. First of all, the side which is having the two bishops, we will give a little bit slight advantage to that side, or we will assume that slight advantage is there from his side. Another thing is in this position, white can create his own counterplay with the moves like g4, f4, and the pawns will proceed because black's pieces are sitting on the queen side. Okay, the knight and bishop are there on the queen side, the rook is there on the queen side. Maybe it can come here, but still we will be having slightly more chances to create counterplay on the king side. And if this pawn is also opened up with f into like e into f4, then this bishop on b2 will be very active on this g7 diagonal. So in this position, Karpo understood that he will be going into the position which is slightly bad for him. So what do you think Karpo decided to play in this position from black side? Okay, you can't see. Okay, wait. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, there was a technical issue. Miss, I was actually on the board, but it was not visible for you. Now is it visible for you? Is it visible? Sorry guys, extremely sorry. Okay, I will explain it to you once again that in this position, these two bishops are there. At least you are listening to me, right? Okay, you were listening to me. So I was talking about white is having two bishops, whereas black is having knight and a bishop. Okay, in this position, and here in this position, white is threatening to play f4, g4, g5 and f5, something he wants to proceed with his pawns on the king side, and black is having his pieces on the queen side in this position. So here you need to decide like one thing, that you need to liquidate, because if you give too much of like room. Blindfold, yeah, blindfold, maybe we can do it, but this is we are having too many pieces. Maybe if we are going to have any game sessions at that time, we can do blindfold sessions. Okay, fine. So what I want to say you, like if in this position white is also threatening b4, d4 move which was suggested, but this is black to play. Okay, so black needs to play in a way in which he will be able to defend the position properly. So I will just tell you that you need to liquidate the position. Liquidate means what? We need to exchange the pieces in a way which will be good for you, or you can defend the position in a better way, because keeping the pieces on the board will lead to a better position for white. So you need to exchange the pieces. So my question for you is, what will you play in this position? How will you exchange the pieces in this position? I'll give you some time to think about it and then tell me. Okay. Knight b4. Okay, if you play knight to the b4, then I will suggest that, okay, if you play knight b4, then d4 is a possibility from my side. I'll just push my pawn. I'll just push my pawn in that case. The d4 pawn I will play. I will not give you a chance to play. If you play here, I'll play d4 pawn. Then how will you proceed with knight to the d3? You don't have time to play knight d3. So knight on b4 will be a little bit oddly placed piece, I will say. Okay, so there might be a better possibility. Think about it. Okay, d5 if you want to play, then you should also understand this thing that okay, d5 is a possibility, and after d5, what is your plan? Can you tell me a little bit? What's your plan? Because there is a threat in this position that if you play d5, then white can capture on e5. This is the hidden tactic. Okay. Here bishop into e5 is a good move from white side, because if you play knight into e5, then I will be playing a d4. If bishop d6, then capture and your d5 pawn will be very weak, and most probably it will be lost. So the thing is that you need to evaluate this position and make your decision, that will you go into this end game or will you play something else. So I'm giving you the more time to think about it. d4 is suggested by someone. Okay, d5. Wait, here this is the position. This is the position, and you need to make the decision whether you are going to play d5 or not, because after d5 white has a good move, that is bishop into e5. Okay. Okay, here Mayur is saying that he was considering f5 move in this position. Possible. f5 is definitely a possibility in this position. But if you play this move, then maybe here in this position, e4, bishop into e4, f5. Oh, why do you want to play like this? Here, bishop into e4, f5. No, I don't think so. You should give up the pawn. But I like the move f5. At least it is a little bit more active if you play f5 in this position. Rook a c8 is suggested by John here. Okay, rook a c8 if you play. Then again, I think I can go for d4. And after e into d4, e into d4, if bishop moves back, your bishop will be little bit cramped in this position because this pawn is well protected. And whenever you play d5 move, our bishop will be very nicely placed to attack the pawn on d5. Okay, you are maintaining the position. I'm not denying this thing. Black is not losing, but he needs to play in a little bit slightly cramped position, or you can say the equal position, but without any big chances. Okay, so the move which was suggested, and I was asking you, okay, Rahul is saying that what about bishop to the b6? Yeah, bishop to the b6 is a possibility. But here, okay, I understand that d4 will not be helpful that much, but we have a good move that is queen to the f3, trying to control the d5 square. Okay, and here if rook f d8 is played, we can still play queen to the d5, and we will not allow our opponent to play d5 move. And here, as we were talking initially, we will go with f4 move and then f5, and if time permits for us, we will capture on e5 also. That will be also one of the interesting possibilities. Otherwise, we will just continue pushing our pawn on the f5, and whenever he captures, let's suppose he plays rook a c8, if will f5 f4, if he capture here, knight d4, which position you are talking about? Knight d4, knight d4 doesn't seem good because the pawn is there to capture on d4. Maybe you are talking about knight b4. I think knight b4 you are talking about, right? But if you play that move also, then I will just capture on b7. So yeah, okay, so guys, the thing is that maybe bishop b6 was also a possibility, but white will be having firm control over this d5 square, and he will proceed with his f4 move. So here, finally, Karpov decided to go into the endgame, and he started liquidating the position, and the endgame which he selected to go was opposite color bishop endgame. Okay, again. Okay, so he played the move which I was asking you. He played d5. He decided to sacrifice the pawn. Okay, even if you sacrifice the pawn, the thing is that when opposite color bishops are there, the most likely the result will be draw, and that is okay for us because we will be having more free play. We don't need to worry about what our opponent will be threatening or this or that. He played d5, and after bishop into e5, knight into e5, d4 was played, and then bishop to the d6, d into e5, bishop into e5, and rook to the c1. And here white is going to capture the pawn on d5, so he must play d4 in this position, because let's suppose you play rook a d8, still we will be able to attack the pawn on d5. Can you tell me how will you attack the pawn on d5 from white side? Which move will you play here? Yes, correct, we should play rook to the c5, so that we will be attacking and now there is no chance from black side to play d4 because the piece on e5 will be hanging in that case. So the pawn on d5 will be lost, and that is okay for us. Means okay, means white will be much better because his rook is there in front of the pawn, and there is more pressure here on this diagonal also. But before white activates his pieces, if you play d4, that is much better position, I will say, because here even if you play rook to the c5, the same position is there, but the bishop will be much more on a better square on f6 square. Yes, yes, correct. If rook to the d5 is played, this is what actually happened in the game also. Korchunov was white in this position, a strong, very strong player, and this game was also played in the World Championship match. So you cannot say like this game is a very normal game or anything. Both the players are playing in the World Chess Championship match, and they are playing at their best. Okay, so queen to the c7 was played, and after e into d4, you can say that white has achieved a position where he is pawn up. But even if white is pawn up, the structure is little bit different. Initially when we were looking at this position, okay, we were looking at this position, if b6 is played or even bishop to the f6, here after rook into d5, the pawn structure was very good, means white's pawn structure are very good, and he can proceed with his pawns slowly and gradually. But what Karpov did, he slightly damaged the pawn structure by playing d4, rook c5, bishop f6, rook d5, queen c7 and e into d4. The difference, are you understanding? Initially the pawn was on e3, but the pawn is on d4. But it makes a big difference because this square, that the d8 square is controlled by the bishop. The bishop is very nicely played on the f6 square, and that's why there are more defending chances in this position, and there is no other piece or a pawn which will be playing e4 e5, and this bishop will not be restricted in that case. So black just simply play rook a d8, rook a d8, then queen c7. Obviously we don't need to capture the queens, we can keep the queens, putting more pressure on the d4 square. So here rook into d8, rook into d8, the pawn pushed forward. But as we know, in this kind of situations, we should be very careful and we should play calmly, okay? Because our opponent cannot play d6 in this position, because we have a very nice cover on the d6 square. The pawn will be lost anyhow. And as this is opposite color bishop, white cannot really create any good counterplay, because d6 pawn or the d6 square cannot be attacked by anyone. So black played g6, means Karpov played g6 in this position, and then bishop to the f3, king g7, rook e1, rook to the d7. Now black is just going to wait there. He is going to put the rook maybe on the e7 square, try to attack the rook and exchange the rooks, and it will be a draw. Okay, they played on for a few moves. I'll just show you. And now this is much more easy position, and they continued the game. And because we can see opposite color bishops wherever there, try to put your pawns on the same color of your bishop. That is the best strategy, okay? If you put your pawns on the same color of your bishop, then your opponent cannot attack those pawns, because he will be having a different color bishop. In this case, that is the light square bishop. So did you understand from these examples, like we can liquidate the position into opposite color bishops? Okay, these are like examples which are not like the previous one, sacrifice. Today we are going to see the examples which are related to the defensive techniques. Okay, it might be little bit boring for you, but I will make sure that if you study these things, these techniques, then they will be very useful for you. Because from my own experience, I'm telling you, you will need to play in a defensive way also when you are going down, and you need to understand this thing, that what are the possibilities are there by which you can defend the position. Because on the football ground also, yes, on the football ground also, if I give you some example, we can always see that the players who are on the front side, or you can say the attackers who are there, they are going to score the goal. But if you don't have the defenders, then it is most likely that your opponent will create, or he will score more goals very easily. So we must be very good in the defense, and in chess also we should be very good in defense. Okay, yeah, they are very useful. So in chess also we must learn the defensive techniques. So let's try to understand next position. Are you able to see the new board or no? Yeah, I think this game is also played between two world chess champions. And okay, my first question, just like not exactly about the game, but I will just like to ask you, like, to check your knowledge. Can you tell me who was the opponent in the World Chess Championship match in Bob Fischer's World Championship match? Who was the opponent? Like, who was his opponent in 1972 World Chess Championship? Can you tell me? This is just like a general knowledge question. Yeah, Spassky. Yes, Spassky. And after Fischer, who became the World Chess Champion? He became the World Chess Champion because Fischer did not play against him, and he won against Korchunai, who was the World Chess Champion after Fischer. Yes, Karpov was the World Chess Championship. So the game which we are going to see was played between two World Chess champions, that is Spassky and Karpov. And I will tell you, in this game, Spassky played in a very nice way and he started putting pressure on Karpov. And as we know, Karpov is very famous for his defensive skills, because we know this thing also that he defended against the very fiercest attacker player in the world, that is Kasparov. And why he was able to defend the position? Because he was very well equipped with all the necessary skills, or you can all the necessary tools which will help him to defend. Okay, so it's very, yeah, Karpov was there. Okay, so let's look at this game played between Spassky and Karpov and try to understand how these players play when their position starts going a little bit down. Okay, so game started with e4. Spassky is white, Karpov, Anatoly Karpov is black in this position. e5 was played, knight f3, knight to the c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4. This is the Rai Lopez opening. You might be knowing this thing, and I think, can anybody tell me, like, okay, in Rai Lopez opening, I think Sagar has done some lectures. If you're, I think he has done in Rai Lopez opening. Can you tell me, did he do it or not in his live stream? Maybe knight to the f6, and then castles, then bishop to the e7. So here rook to the e1 was played. Yeah, knight. Yeah, Breyer system he has done. So this is a little bit different setup, I will say. So b5 was played by black. We can always interchange the move. It is not compulsory like you have to play like that in Rai Lopez, and has mentioned that. Yes, yes, correct. So bishop to the b3, and then d6 was played by black. We are not going to talk about the opening. Our main focus will be like in the middle game how black will be playing. Okay, but still I want to go from the opening so that you will know like the how the game was developed. Okay, so black played castles, then h3, because he wants to stop this bishop to the g4 move, then bishop to the b7, then white played d4, and then rook to the e8, and in this position white played knight to the g5, attacking the pawn on f7. Black defended with rook to the f8, knight to the sorry knight to the f3, rook to the e8. And here, okay, you can draw the game anytime by playing knight g5 and rook to the f8, and again you will come back. But obviously the people don't play like that. He played counter black. Okay, thank you guys for informing me about that thing. Knight to the bd2 was played, then bishop f8, bishop to the c2, knight b8. Now this is like the Breyer system. Okay, this is exactly what it is about the Breyer, but it is, you can say that, a little bit delayed Breyer. Okay, now a4, knight bd7, and bishop to the d3, and ed4, cd4, and c5. maybe you would have looked at this kind of setups from black side in the lecture, and I will suggest you to watch those lectures obviously by Sagar. They are very instructive. That's why I was asking you whether you have seen. Okay, even if you are not seen, then do watch it for because this opening is Breyer opening only. Okay, so a into b5, a into b5, rook into a8, bishop into a8, and bishop into b5. And you can say that after knight into e4, knight into e4, rook into e4, rook into e4, bishop into e4, and you can say that okay, in this position plenty of exchanges happened, and both the sides are having 5 pawns. 1 2 3 4 5. Black has 1 2 3 4 5. The pieces are also there, but if you pay a little bit more attention, then you will realize that the bishop on f8 is actually a slightly badly placed piece, because he is cramped because his own pawn on d6 square. And another thing is that okay, white has these two bishops, but two bishops will be quite good, and if the position gets opened up. Okay, all lines accepted and declined anytime near. Yeah, I will think about it, definitely Mantrala, about the Ivan's gambit. Definitely I will try to prepare and play it. Okay, I'll prepare for it and then I will maybe do it. Okay. Okay, here in this position, white decided to capture the bishop on e4, and he played knight to the g5. His idea is that okay, if black anytime plays d5 or something like that, then obviously he will be having two bishops. But okay, nobody will play like that. Most probably you will play the bishop somewhere. So my question is that where will you put this bishop, because now it is being attacked. I would like to talk about this position, but first of all, I want to know your opinion. Like, where will you play here? Okay, yeah, it will be there for at least 30-40 minutes for sure, Mayur. Definitely, it will be there because I want to show you one or two more games. Okay, I have different opinions here. One is saying bishop to the g6, one is saying bishop to the b7. Well, here, as we can see, the thing is that if you play bishop to the b7 in this position, it is a possibility, but the main problem with bishop to the b7 is like white has a very nice move, and it might just crush black's position, that is queen to the h5. Okay, and we will means white will be attacking these two pawns at the same time, and you cannot really prevent it. Yes, definitely. Mayur, bishop g6 is actually one of the most important moves, because if you move the bishop from this diagonal, then you cannot really prevent it. Here, you cannot support any of the pawn. Even if you play g6 in this position, then obviously you are getting checkmated. So you cannot play that move. If you play h6 in this position, then we will be capturing the pawn. And in this position, we will capture the knight also on this square. And if you play something like knight to the f6, supporting the pawn on h7 in this case, we'll still capture the pawn on f7, king h8, and we have this queen into b7 move, and we will be winning the queen in this case, miss piece in this case. So obviously we cannot go away from this b1 to h7 diagonal. Okay, so that's why we need to put the bishop maybe on the f5 square or g6 square. Both the moves are possible in this square, in this position, and Karpov decided to play bishop to the g6. But if you play bishop to the g6, there is a problem that in this position white has a nice move, that is bishop into d7, queen into d7, and he played d into c5. And Spassky here has played this move, and Karpov actually cannot play this move because the queen on d7 is hanging in this case. Okay, So my question for you is like, what will you play in this position? How will you defend the position when your opponent has already won the pawn? Because by capturing all this previous, if you go a little bit behind, okay, it all started with this a into b5 move, okay, a into b5, a into b5, rook a8, bishop a8. This all these moves are quite compulsory. It all started with these moves, and then all these after all these exchanges, d into c5 was played and white is pawn up in this position. But Karpov found out a very nice way to defend the position. So what do you think is there from black side? Which move do you think that Karpov, not the move, but he planned for something? One thing is there, I'll just tell you. Black has achieved two bishops in this position. He has two bishops and white is having knight and the bishop. Okay. Okay, Suraj is saying bishop e7. Okay, possible. Queen f5 is suggested by Mantrala. Attack the knight and the pawn. Both maybe. Okay, Queen f5 is suggested by Mantrala. But if you play here, no, actually white has a very nice move. I agree with you that. Sorry, I agree with you that the both the pieces, mean the knight on g5 and the pawn on c5 being attacked. White can play c into d6 in this position. And if we capture queen into g5, then actually it is supported by bishop into g5, so you cannot really play it. But the thing is that the pawn is completely unstoppable also here. It will be very difficult for black to protect, because if you play queen to the d7, then we have this extra pawn in this position, and this d6 pawn always can be protected with bishop to the f4, and it is almost impossible for black to capture the pawn on d6, and that is not something which Karpa would like to play in this position, being two pawns down. Even if you are giving two pawns down now, you should have some kind of a play. And your bishop on f8 is not going to come in the game very soon. Okay, so here he did not play that move. I'll just tell you what did he play. Here black played bishop to the f5. The idea is now he wants to protect the queen so that on the next move he can capture here. And if c into d6 is played, bishop into d6 will be played here. Yeah, bishop f5 was one of the move. Okay, so bishop into d6. Now, okay, we are pawn down in this position from black side. I'm talking about Karpov is pawn down, but he has lot of play, and especially when you have two bishops. Okay, in when you have two bishops, and if the position is opened up, then obviously you will get lot of chances to defend your position in a better way. If in this position the position was, let's suppose the position was closed, then the bishops will not work that much efficiently with each other. The thing is that bishops work efficiently with each other, or you can say that coordinate with each other, if the position is wide open, and this position is wide open. So black is not having at all a bad position. Okay, he's pawn down, but definitely he has lot of chances to defend. Okay, so white played queen to the f3, and then h6 was played. Knight went back to the, sorry, e4 square. Here black played bishop to the e5 because maybe he wants to keep the pieces on the board, so he played, okay Mayur, e5, then knight to the c3, and white decided to play queen d3 because okay, he can go into the end game because he has two bishop, and the next thing is that his king is also ready to come in the game very quickly. Okay, but by playing bishop to the d3, it is restricting the path of the king, so king needs to take a reroute, you can say, or maybe play f3 or f4, then king f2. It will take some time. So here white decided to play knight d5, because black was also threatening one very important move, that if you play f4 in this position, can you tell me what will be preferable from black side? To liquidate the position or go into the endgame, which will be much more drawish? Which move will you play if white tries to play f4 or f3? Yes, bishop into c3 is the move. Yeah, we should play bishop into c3 because if we go into the opposite color bishops, then it will be much more easier for black to defend the position and it will be a draw because our king will come in the game very quickly and opposite color bishops give us a lot of chances to draw the game. So that's why white did not go for f4 f3. He played knight to the d5, but okay, I'll just go through the initial last moves after f6, knight e7, and then king f7, knight c6, king e6, and finally black got the position which he was wishing. He got the position of opposite color bishop and they agreed for a draw after these 2-3 moves. Okay, so by showing you these games, I hope you understood that how you can defend the position by going into the end game which is more likely to be drawn, that is opposite color bishops. Okay, I hope you understood. So would you like to see one more game? Okay, I understand this today's topic is a very lazy topic. Nobody likes to defend in life. Everybody likes to just attack and attack and attack. Okay, fine. So let's look at one game and then we will understand like how to play. So we will look at one more World Championship match which was played between Karpov and Kasparov this time. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so have arrived here at this position. In this position, like in this game, Karpov is white, Kasparov is black, and they decided to play d4, d5, c4, e6, knight to the c3. This was played in 1985, okay, and it was between them in World Championship match. So it was a very serious encounter at that time. Bishop e7 was played, knight f3, knight f6, bishop g5, h6, bishop into f6. I'll just go through the moves in the initial part of the game and then we will think when the critical movement will appear. Okay. Okay, Mantra, I'll check it out for sure. Bishop into f6 was played and then e3, castles, queen d2, d into c4, bishop into c4, knight d7, and after proceeding in the game like this, they have arrived at the position in this case. And now in this position you can say white has a good control of the d file, right? Because queen is there, rook is also there, the knight is very nicely placed in the center of the board, the knight can jump on the c5 square, d6 square. So you can say that white has slight initiative, or you can say the white has more active pieces because the bishop on f3 is also sitting on a good square. We are attacking the b7 pawn on there. So how will you proceed in this position? And I will tell you one thing, that whenever you are under pressure, you should try to exchange your opponent's active pieces. Okay. So in this position, can you tell me which are the active pieces from white side? Obviously, I already mentioned the queen on d4, the knight on e4. These are the active pieces in this position. So how will you exchange the pieces in this position, or how will you force white to exchange the queens? Which move will you play here? Can you suggest me something? Bishop c6 is suggested by my class buddies. Okay, bishop c6 I will consider. Any other move you suggest? I'll wait for other people also to answer. Okay, one more thing, bishop to the c6 again you are suggesting. Okay, possible bishop to the c6, but I am saying like you need to force white to exchange the queens. Okay, by bishop to the c6 you are not forcing him to exchange the queens. You in this position, like white can play queen to the c5 and the position will continue. Okay, because maybe queen to the c7, then white will play knight to the d6, the knight will be very well placed on the d6 square, and I will prefer this position playing from the white side definitely, because my knight is very well placed on the d6 square. So you are not exchanging your opponent's active pieces, so you need to find out a better solution in this position. So can you suggest me something else? I'll give you some time, think about it, and then tell me which move will you play. Hello Aniruddha. Can you tell me, Aniruddha, if you are there? Yeah, bishop a4 is the move. Rahul is also suggesting that move. Yes, definitely we should play bishop a4, because now this is much more forceful. Because why are we forcing? First of all, we are attacking the rook on d1, and the queen is also being attacked by our queen. So it is kind of forced for white to exchange the queens. Even if we place rook here, we will just capture the rooks, and we are exchanging one of our opponent's active pieces, right? Yes, my class buddy Suraj, you are absolutely right about this thing. So that's why bishop a4 was played by Kasparov in this position, and he played queen into d8, then rook f d8, rook into d8, rook into d8, and now the position has reached where Karpov has calculated that okay, even if after all these exchanges he can play knight to the c5, and now he is putting pressure on the b7 pawn, as well as he is hitting the bishop on a4. Now I will give you two options. Okay, one option for you is to play bishop to the c6. Okay, and then knight into b7 is there, then bishop into b7, bishop into b7, and maybe you can play knight c4. This is one of the option which I am giving you, and another option I will give you is to play rook to the d2. So in these two moves, which move will you select? Means after rook to the d2, obviously your pawn on b7 is going to fall anyhow, but which move order or which move will you select? Will you select bishop c6 or will you play rook to the d2? What do you think about this? What do you think Kasparov played in this position? Yes, Kasparov was a very aggressive player, and he understood that earlier he exchanged his opponent's active pieces, right? Yes, Akshay, you are also right about this thing. Now in this position, black is actually in the position where you can say like he is on the driving seat. He will decide the course of the game now. Where the game is going to turn, he will decide, because he has the active pieces. The rook on a1 is not active. The rook on d8 is active. So that's why rook d2 is actually a good move, because we are putting the rook on the 7th rank. That is very important. Whenever we can put the rook on the 7th rank, we should do it. And another thing is that whenever the rook comes on the 7th rank, we will be attacking these pawns which are there on their initial squares. Okay, so here white played b3 because he wanted to protect the pawn on b2, and then he played bishop to the c6. Black captured on b7, but here again I have two options for you. Will you capture on b7 or will you capture on f3? Which move do you think Kasparov played in this position? Tell me, I'm waiting for your answer. Whatever you will suggest, I will consider it, and then we will discuss about it. Well, bishop into f3. Can you tell me why? At least write down a slight answer to it. Why bishop into f3? Because I understand bishop into f3 you want to play, but what do you think? Like, why do you want to play it? Pawn structure, yes, correct. The pawn structure will be damaged if you play bishop into f3. And the thing is that after this pawn structure is damaged, another thing is that white's piece is little bit away from the main action of the board. It is sitting on the b7 square, and here you can restrict it more by one move. So my next question for you is like, how will you restrict this knight on b7? Which move will you play so that the knight will not come in the game easily? Means eventually it will come in the game. I'm not saying that it will not come in the game, but you should try to restrict it more. Rook c2. Okay, if you play rook to the c2, then he has this knight d6 move. He will come back in the game. Okay, rook d5 is being suggested by you guys, but if you play this move, then okay, I have this a4 a5 move, and I can even play e4 at the any point, and you are not there on the 7th rank. So moving the rook from the 7th rank doesn't seem good, at least in this position. Okay, Vinod has come up with a better different move. Okay, Vinod is suggesting knight to the d7, which is actually was played by Kasparov, because anyhow white's plan was to play a4 a5. Okay, so black must need to remove the knight from this square, so he's playing knight d7, so that he will be covering this important square from white's knight. And another thing is that the knight is going to jump on the e5 square, then f3 pawn will be attacked, the knight can come on the d3 square also, then we will be attacking the f2 pawn. So you can say that by playing one defensive move for the time being, it is like you are going back to going forward. It's like the spring technique. Okay. Okay, so here, okay, white played king to the g2, and okay, next move he is going to play f4. So here Kasparov decided to stop all the plans like this, and he played g5 move. This is again a good move. I will tell you why. Whenever you want to defend your opponent's bad pawn structure, like in this case, if there are two pawns in this case, and if your opponent has the option of playing f4 or h4, it is more likely to play g5 move in that case. If you play g5 move, then you will be stopping this two pawn breaks. Okay, that's why you should play g5, stopping your opponent's plans. Okay, so okay, here in this position they played b4, and he played knight to the b6 with the idea of coming on d5, because after b4 knight c5 was anyhow going to come. And here, okay, he played king to the f1. Again he played knight to the d7, and if you play king to the e1 in this position, then after rook d2 still you will be maintaining the rook on the 7th rank. So they decided to draw the game. Okay, welcome back Mayur. They decided to draw the game after king g2, knight b6, king f1, knight d7. Just for the sake of clarification, I will tell you like what happens if they don't play like this. If at any position here white decides to play a4, okay, then, as I mentioned earlier, the knight can come in the game with a greater effect with knight to the e5 move. And if b5 is played, we will capture on f3. If a5 is there, we will capture on h2. King will come here, then again check. King g2, then we can play knight h4 check. King f1, then we will again be able to push the pawn here. If b6, a into b6, a into like a6, and finally g3, f into g3, and knight f3. And this is a famous drawing setup where the knight will be there, the rook will be at the exact knight distance from the knight, and your opponent's king will be stuck on the final rank. And even if in this position white is there, you can give check, 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 check. It will be a draw for sure, because your opponent cannot go anywhere. So if he tries to go away with king to the h1 move, then we will be giving check and mate in that case. So he must stay in between those squares, and this is a very famous structure, miss drawing setup you can say, which you should remember, because in my own games also I have drawn this like this. When my opponent was completely winning on the other side of the board, I was actually giving perpetual check to my opponent. This is one of the very important concepts, which is the coordination between the knight and the rook. Okay. Did you like it? Because I have drawn, I think once I was having a very great position and I missed, and my opponent got this structure with knight and the rook, and he drew the game, and I was like, oh my god, what I have done, I have allowed this thing. So we should know this kind of setups. Yes, knight plus rook drawing structure. Yes, definitely we should know this thing. And one more thing, like from this game you can see that Kasparov did not go in the on the back foot. Okay, he defended the position by doing two things. First of all, he exchanged his opponent's active pieces. Then he was even ready to give, or he even gave the sacrifice on the b7 square. By doing that thing, the knight on b7 was permanently standing on a very long distance. And then he coordinated his pieces. He put his piece on the 7th rank. So you should try to do this thing. If you are going down, then exchange your opponent's good pieces and try to get your own active pieces. If you do this thing, then definitely you will get a very nice position, and it will give you lots of chances to get good counterplay. Okay. Yeah, it is a cool setup, I will say. Yes, we'll give it a name, cool knight and rook setup. Yeah. Okay, guys, would you like to see one more game by good players? Yes. So now I will talk about something which is interesting to you. Might be interesting. I don't know exactly. It is called as the you can go or you can defend the position by creating fortress. Okay. Fortresses as very tricky. Sometimes it happens that we might be having lots of material or something, but the position is like a fortress and you cannot break through it. Okay, so let's look at one position, and then we will decide what is fortress in the. Okay, one position I'll give you, just give me 1 minute. Okay, this is the position on the board. Okay, and this game was played in 1970 between Petrosian and Hazai. Arshak Petrosian was a very strong player, I will say, at that time. And here in this position, black played a very beautiful concept, I will say. As you can see, all the pawns are already blocked on the board. Eight pawns are there on the board. So if by any chance the position gets blocked, then it will be, might be a draw, or you can say. So to hoping for that thing, black played queen to the b6. Okay. So in this position, my question for you is like, can white play knight into b6, c into b6, and now can white win the game? Is there any possibility from white side to win the game? He is queen up in this position. Okay, how will you win? Can you tell me how will you win? Can you tell me a plan of action? Queen and bishop trade. Okay, I will never trade the bishops. I'll never trade the queen. See, even if you trade the thing also, there is no breakthrough. All the pawns are blocked. How will you break through? Queen say a6. The wherever you go, I will be there. Means if you are going to sacrifice anywhere, my bishop is also there. Okay, white tried to break through, like he played h4 in this position, g into h4, and he played queen to the d2. His idea is very clear. What he wants to do is like he wants to play queen d1, queen h1, queen h3, and he will come back in the game. But black was very clever player. Black played a very nice move in this position. Can you find out a move from the black side so that he will be able to bring the king? Okay, but in that case, if you go for everything, I my king is just here, and I will always defend the position with bishop to the a1. There is nothing. Yes, correct. h3 is the move which black played in this position, and after g into h3, h4 was played and the position is completely blocked. I will never move my bishop from this square. I will move it only if it's necessary, and you cannot create any play here. Even if you play, let's suppose king a4, I will play this move. King a4, if you play, now you are threatening queen into a5, right? Okay, I will let you play that move. Let's play, you play queen into a5 also. I'll capture, here capture. And now, do you think that it is a winning position for you? I think this should be winning position for black if you capture the queen or if you give up the piece like that, because now I can play bishop to the e1 check. This is what I mentioned, and after this move I'll play king b6, and it is my king. Okay, it is black's king who is having firm control here, and it is only black who can win in this position. Black can never win this position. If king b3 is played, king a5 will come. Yes, white cannot win this position. Only black can win if white sacrifices the queen. Okay, so because of this beautiful move, that is h3, gh3 and h4, the game was declared as a draw. But going back to the position which we had, no. In that case, I think it will be a win, because if bishop is a pawn, then white will again give sacrifice anywhere and he will just create a passed pawn. He will have one extra pawn in that case. We can capture on the a5 square also. No, if you go to the g2 square, I will also come on this square here. In the last position, if you are here, let's suppose you go to the c2 square. How will you win? I will let you capture on g3. Okay, if you want to capture on g3, I will let you capture. I will just play here, you play here, I will play here, you will play here. Okay, I will play. How will you exchange the bishop here? How will you exchange the bishop here? Because whenever you exchange the piece here, I'll just wait here. If you capture here, then in that case, okay, I will just play here. I'll play, and your king can never come out because I have a connected passed pawn in this case. And this is something which black will win in this position. Black will be winning. Okay. Okay, fine. So this is one of the example of fortresses which I wanted to tell you. This is an extreme example. But here in this position, if after queen to the b6, if white wants to win, then he should not capture the queen. He should exploit the weakness on the a5 square by playing queen d2. The king should come on the b3 square. The knight should go back with here. The king will come here, and finally we will capture the pawn on a5, and the position will proceed. Okay. So that was the only way that white can win, but he should not capture the queen. Yes, pawn endgames maybe I can do. Okay, fine. So we will go to the next position now. Okay. So the next position which we are going to see is again played between very strong players. Smyslow, do you know Smyslow or Smyslow? He was the ex world chess champion, and he was playing against Hubner. He was playing against Hubner in this position, and Hubner played in such a great fashion that here in this position he decided to sacrifice the queen. Okay, he decided to sacrifice the queen and create fortress. Okay, so can you find out a way? Here you can say black to play is there. black can just capture the pawn because he has three pieces attacking on the b4 square. But after rook into b4, knight c6 is the move. Okay, here the queen and the knight both are being attacked, but here in this position there will be a fortress because there are only three pawns on the board, right? And black can play rook into b5 after knight into e7, bishop into e7. This is a position where you can simply draw the game because your bishop is there near your king. Okay, you don't need to worry. Your rook is also there. You just need to keep the rook on this file, or you should just keep the rook with the support of the bishop, and you will draw the game. You don't need to create anything. In this position the game was drawn because it is fortress, as I mentioned. Rook queen to the d7 attacking the queen and the bishop, but he played rook to the b1, and after king to the h2 he played bishop f8. f4 was played in this position, and then h5, f5. You just need to maintain the rook on the 6th rank. If you maintain the rook on the 6th rank, then white cannot create anything. Okay, let's see. He might create a passed pawn, try to play e4, e5, e6 in this position, but here black has a nice move. Can you find out a good move from black side? You just need to exchange the pawns here. Okay, so how will you exchange the pawns in this position? Which move will you play from black side? I'm, I'm waiting for your answer, guys. Are you there with me, or you are still thinking G6? Okay, I got the move. First suggestion G6, F6 comes to my mind, but it also opens the white square. Yeah, you should not play F6 move, because if you play F6 kind of a move, then you are creating holes also. And the most important thing is that you are weakening the pawn on H5. Okay, here white will be very happy to play at king h3, king h4, and the pawn on h5 will be lost sooner or later. And there are other things also. You can play queen to the e8 and the pawn on h5 will be lost very so. So main thing is that in fortresses, whenever you are going for the fortresses, your pawn structure should be connected. It should not be like hanging or something like that. Okay, G6 is the move which you must play in this position, and after queen to the d8, let's suppose in this position, you can just wait. Okay, you don't even need to capture on f5. You don't need to capture the pawn on f5 right now in this position, because if you capture the pawn on f5, then again you will be giving lots of chances to your opponent. He can play, first of all, your rook is hanging. I consider that thing. Rook is hanging, I know, but I'm just telling you that if you capture here, then your pawn structure will be very bad. White will be very happy to play this check, and then he will be capturing both the pawns once, like slowly and gradually. Okay, fine. He will not capture on f5. I know this thing. The rook on b6 is hanging. He played rook to the d6, supporting the rook. Queen came to the g5, then bishop to the e7. He just maintained the position like this for a while. He did not move around, and finally he captured here because now he can just keep the fortress like this. He maintained the position. He is not going to allow, because as I mentioned, the h5 pawn was a weakness. He just supported the pawn and the game was drawn. He just waited. Black is just going to wait. He will say like, whatever you want to do from the white side, do it. I will not do anything. So this is the fortress, one of the fortress which is very rare. You need to invent fortresses. Okay, there is no like a book of fortresses. You need to find out fortresses over the board, and you need to be little bit innovative. Okay, I think we are here almost at the near of the uh, our setup. G6 maybe, yeah. Online Nations Cup, Ding versus Anand. Anand created a nice pawn fortress versus bishop. Yes, you need to create something on the board, and you need to be a little bit innovative. Okay, let's see one more game. And in this position, black is queen down. You can see this thing, right? Very good in creating for, and he did in last times with the, yes, yes, definitely we know he created a fortress. And that's why, like I was telling you since starting, defensive techniques are very very important. Like all the time you are not going to attack your opponent, sometimes you need to defend, and these fortresses will give you half point, which is very important in the game. It will save your day. Okay. Okay, so here my task for you is little bit difficult, and I will just tell you. White player was Robert Bryan, which was a famous player who played against Fisher in the world, like words, like you can say that the most famous game, you can say greatest game of the century. Robert Bryan, if you know that the queen sacrifice which Fisher gave, he was white player in this game. And Mark Taimono, whom Fisher beat with 6-0 score. Taimono was also a very top player at that time, and he played against Fisher in the candidates tournament. This both players were playing in the interzonal tournament, and they reached this position. Robert Bryan was white, Mark Taimono was black, and here in this position, Taimono missed the only chance to draw the game. He could have created a fortress in this position, but he couldn't do it. He played, I will just tell you the mistake what he did. Okay, he played knight to the d3 in this position. Yes, correct. He is white in this position, Vinod. So he played knight to the d3, then queen to the e2 happened, then knight a3, rook a1, then he played rook to the e1, and that after rook into e1, rook into knight into e1, queen d7 came, and finally the thing is that black's pieces are not coordinated, and white just charged with his pawn, and then it is just winning position for him. White just won the position after rook e2, bishop d5, and the pawn on f7 is also going to fall. But coming back to the starting position, here instead of playing knight d3, this was a mistake. Black had a very nice way to draw the game, or you can say get into the position which is a fortress. So can you find out the beautiful fortress which black could have played in this position? I will give you 1 minute. I'll not give you too much of time because I want to show you maybe one more game also, because we are streaming since 1.5 hours now. Or we'll stop after this fortress. Okay, which move will you play from black side? See, you should see one thing is that black can play knight into c3. He will attack the bishop rook on here. We will be creating this threat also, knight to the e2 check, and we will be capturing this thing. So knight into c3 was actually the best move in this position, because if you play this move, rook into b2 is the best move in this position. Obviously we are controlling the e2 square, but here black had a very nice move, that is rook to the e1 check. He has only bishop to the f1, and now we will give knight to the e2. And here white must capture the knight on e2 because the queen is hanging in this case. He will play this move, and then we will play this move, rook 8 e2. And no matter what white is going to play, he cannot escape from this fortress which is there. White's king is stuck in this prison. The bishop cannot capture here, and this should be a drop. Okay, he played queen to the c4 in this position so that this rook will be here. But the thing is that rook into f1, king into f1, and rook into h2, and you can say there will be 3 pawns in this position, and black has a rook. The queen is there, I agree with you, but the thing is that this is the fortress position now. White will not be able to break through black's fortress, because if you play g4, then we can play g5 in this position, and the pawn is stopped, and we will just put the rook here, or maybe we'll just come back and we'll play the rook here on g6, and that is the way you can draw the game. Okay, maybe he will play queen c8 here, the queen f5 will come, and we'll just play rook to the h6. If he captures, then just maintain the rook on g6 and e6, giving support with the pawn, and this will be a draw. We don't need to worry because white doesn't have any way to break through in this position. If the king tries to come near also, we'll just play rook e6 and we'll cut him off, and it will be a draw. Yeah, it is a strange way that in which Mark Taimano could have drawn the game, and I agree that it is not so easy to find out this kind of fortresses when you are on the board, because the thing is that to find out the fortresses, the main thing is that we should know something related to that kind of a position. We should have some memory pattern. Okay. Yeah, Mantrala, see you. We need to have some kind of a pattern in our mind, then only we can find out the fortresses. And the most important thing as we are looking at these fortresses is like once you know this thing, then you will try to create them, or we will try to bring them on the board. So first thing is that we need to know fortresses similar like this from the games of many top players or something, like whenever it is possible. As you mentioned earlier, Mayur and Vinod was saying that Anand created one fortress and he drew the game. Like that only we should collect, and we should make one database of such fortresses. Okay, that will be very very useful for you. Okay, before we end up our class, I want to show you one last game, or you can say the last position by which we will end the class. Would you like to see this thing? We'll, okay, let's look at this and then we will stop with today's session. This is the position. Okay, and here in this position, White's queen is being attacked. The rook is also being attacked because there is an attack on this square. So how will you defend if you are white in this position? I prepare, like I stay awake. I means I sleep 3 or 4 o'clock, you can say, every day, and then I wake up and okay, all the time I'm in chess only. So even for preparing this for these sessions is a preparation for me. I do preparation like this. Thank you, Vinod. Thank you, Mayur. I hope you guys are enjoying the streams also, because I am streaming quite often today, miss these days, maybe 2 times, sometimes 3 times in a day. Yes, Rahul has come up with the move rook into f7. Yes, but the thing is that, do you think that after rook into f7, black will just capture on f7, or will he play a good move? Actually, black. Yeah, I am taking care of my throat. Thank you, Mayur. I also want to be a stronger player, and every day I try to improve myself. That is the thing. You need to put on efforts each and every day. And I hope with along with me, you guys are also improving with me, and I will be very happy if you also score some good games or some victories or something like that in your own tournament. So queen 8 is actually a good move, and after rook to the f3, bishop into e5, bishop into e5, queen to the e4, and now we can say that symmetrical pawn structure is again there. Okay, and we are having this 4 pawns from black side, white is having this 5 pawns, and white should be able to draw this game because it is a perfect case of fortress. I'll show you why. Bishop f4, queen a2, and then we will push the pawn to the a4 square. Our rook will always be there to protect the pawn on b3, and in this case you can see we have one extra piece. Okay, not like the last one where we had only rook. We have a bishop and a rook, and this is a very easy to position to defend. All you need to do is like queen e4, h3, just put the position like this, keep the rook here, keep the king here, just move the bishop on e3 or g5, and the game will be drawn. So I hope that you understood that you can defend. I think two techniques we have seen today, three techniques. First thing is like going into the opposite color bishop. Second thing we learned is like exchanging our opponent's active pieces and going into the activity kind of a thing from Kasparov's game. Kasparov activated his rook, and then in the end we saw this interesting fortresses. I hope if you follow this thing, or maybe there are other techniques also, you need to always need to learn it. You will definitely become a better player. Okay, I hope you understood this all the three techniques which we learned from these games which we have looked at today, and it was useful for you. So if you liked my channel, do subscribe. If you are not subscribed till now, do spread it. And I have even given the links also. You can support my channel by donating some money also. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Suggest where to look for them, how to go about it. Okay, we know the thing is that you need to keep on searching in the database or in live games. If you are looking at a live game, if you come across something, it's a process. You need to grind down, like you need to always constantly look at the games of latest games, and you need to be in search. Okay, if this is good or that is good, you need to create different categories in your chess base, like fortresses where there will be bishop sacrifice, knight sacrifice, queen sacrifice, or there will be something else. So all types of databases, and you should whenever you look at any something interesting, then you put that game in that particular folder. So that is the process you need to go through. For that you need to work hard. There is no other option for it. Okay. Everybody does this thing. Or you can hire a coach, and he will help you to do it. Okay, thank you very much guys for being there. It will at least reduce your work. Good night. See you.